What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Couple Things.
With Shawn and Andrew.
Podcast all about couples.
And the things they go through.
Happy early Halloween.
Yeah. We had a great couple days. We got a great couple days coming up.
Yes, we've had Drew's birthday party. We've had school Halloween parties. I feel like we are just tiptoeing into the ages of our kids of like social lives, which is wild considering they're only 3 and 5.
You would have been so proud of Drew pulling up into school today. She was waving everybody out the window.
Really?
Which she usually is pretty timid.
Oh.
But now she's like kind of coming out of her shell.
She is.
She has thrived this year. It's been so fun. Jet waves to everybody. He'll have a 5-minute conversation with you all about motorcycles. We sat around the campfire 2 weeks ago when we were on the mission trip, kind of debriefing the whole experience of building a house for his family. And so there's like 15 people around the fire. Jet was sitting there with us, and he was really excited for his turn.
Yeah.
And when it
he had to have like 4 turns.
When it came to him, he told a story about motorcycles going through the snow.
Yeah.
And it was adorable. So he's a chit chatter. But this is a really fun phase of life. I feel like we're like really doing a better job at planning.
Mm-hmm.
And there's really fun things that we are planning. I think we've settled into like what our shtick is.
Mm-hmm.
So Drew's birthday party went to a climbing gym. It was a bit of a drive, but they had this epic setup for the kids, and they crushed it. So anyway,
I will say really something fun. I am learning firsthand now as a parent is like with a soon-to-be kindergartner. So talking about that social life kind of slowly starting is it's so easy as a parent to kids who go to school to just kind of coast and not really be involved. And I feel like that would have been my like go-to mode until I noticed that like the more involved you are, the more it actually benefits your kids.
Yeah.
To like actively do play dates and actively foster and invest time into your kids' friends and volunteer. And like the more you're invested into the school with your kids, the more benefit they get. And I've just really been trying to work on that.
I think we're kind of like in a transition with that too, where Drew's, she's 5.
Yeah.
And so her friends are like actually her friends. Before we would take the kids to school and they'd just be in a room with other babies and they don't really know their names. But now Drew has people that she loves to do certain things with. And so I need to build the practice of like asking, hey, how's so-and-so? And did you guys do any of this today?
Mm-hmm.
You know, which is new. You know,
we also talked about this with Drew's birthday. It was the first birthday party we've had where it truly felt like her party.
Yeah.
I feel like when you throw little
fun.
kids' birthday parties, to a certain extent, they're for you because like you invite all your friends and your friends' kids and it's just like a giant kid play date. But this was the first year I was like, Drew, what do you want to do? And she said exactly what she wanted to do. And I said, who do you want to invite? And she literally listed off the exact people.
Yeah.
And they were her school friends. And it was just cool to see like her own little life taking shape.
Yeah. It's so fun to watch her. They had this thing at the climbing gym where you climb up a series of steps. Yeah. And then you have to jump off. It's like 25 feet.
Yeah.
And she got up there. I wasn't sure if she was going to be able to jump or not, but she
all
did
of her little friends were like hyping her up. They're like, go, Drew.
Yeah. She was the first one to go and she kind of set the tone. It was really fun. I'm proud of her. And life is really good. It feels like we are in a new chapter of life in several different things and several different ways. And there's changes that are happening. Some are really fun and exciting. Some are a little more challenging. Mm-hmm. But I do feel really excited about the next couple months of life.
Me too, baby.
And, you know, I'm pumped too. The team made that reel about us talking about marriage and how much we've been through. It really is fun. Like,
it is fun.
To be fully known and fully loved. What a blessing. So thank you.
The more I know about you, the more I love you.
But we're here today to talk about busting marriage myths, all right? We've been thinking a lot about what society thinks about marriage and how there are so many common misconceptions about it. Honestly, I feel like it's kind of a bummer.
Yeah.
Even like with parenting too, but like it is difficult and there are challenges with marriage, but like that doesn't mean it needs to be shied away from, you know?
I didn't tell you about this, but I was in New York last week for work. It was one of my first solo trips in a long time.
Yeah.
So much so that I didn't have my license or passport because Andrew carries them because I forget them so much. So we had to figure that out. But I got to talking to this lady who I think fed into a lot of these misconceptions we're going to go through, because we started talking and like she was asking like, where are you from? And came out that like I was married. I had 3 kids, and she was just shocked. And she's like, I feel like you're like one of those that like actually really likes your husband. And it was funny because I light up when I talk about you, especially when we're not together and
Sometimes.
Stop. And you're my best friend. You're my teammate. I absolutely adore you, and I would not want to spend life with anybody else in the entire world. But to see someone be so shocked by that made me really sad, because it just goes to show, it's the whole reason why we started this podcast. I think the world and social media and press and everybody likes to put such a bad rap on marriage when it's actually so incredibly wonderful.
I love you too, babe. I'm really thankful for how you are so thoughtful with our family. And honestly, we just voted today. Pumped about that. And
America.
I just think about, if you're able to do family well, then I think society benefits. If you can have hard conversations and challenging conversations in the family and maintain an aspect of empathy and love, then it has ripple effects throughout society. It's like you build these practice reps of working through conflict and gaining perspective and improving and changing your habits. And like, anyway, I am so passionate about this. And so today we thought we'd tackle some of the misconceptions in hopes that it will give you some encouragement, whether you're married or looking at getting married, or you're not sure if you want to or not. Because although marriage takes some work, it is worth it. Again, what is more satisfying than being fully known and fully loved? That's like this beautiful sweet spot of life. And I think when you step back and look at friendships or the relationship you have with parents or siblings, like that's what makes it awesome, is they know you in a really unique way and they appreciate you. So marriage is like that to the upteenth extreme, So let's get into it.
Okay. First, marriage misconception. These are from you guys, by the way.
And some of these are kind of hoping to set more realistic expectations for marriage, and others are to help create healthier, more fulfilling relationships. That's really what we're going for. So anyway.
Okay, first one, myth. Marriage will change your spouse. I actually don't agree with what it says the reality is here, so let's talk about it.
Okay. The reality says marriage doesn't change people. It often magnifies existing qualities.
So, when we were dating, kind of early on dating, Andrew asked me to read this book called The Meaning of Marriage. I highly recommend everybody read it. And it basically just goes on to say that when you marry your spouse, you marry every person that person will become in their lifetime. And it basically says, going against what this reality says, is like, yes, your spouse will change. They will go through phases of life where they are completely different than the person you married. But that's also part of the adventure of life, is going through these ups and downs and falling back in love with each one of those people and truly trying to support your spouse no matter where they're at in life. Christmas is my favorite time of the year, but shopping for everyone on my list can be really overwhelming. And to be honest, I have barely started. But when I heard that Skims launched their holiday shop, I felt so much relief, because that's going to be the perfect gift for so many people in my life this year. I absolutely love giving gifts. It's so fun for me. And the Skims holiday shop branding is adorable, so you can basically gift it directly as you receive it, which makes it easy. The Fits Everybody Scoop bralette is my favorite bralette ever. The Skims holiday shop has them packaged in the cutest little boxes they make for easy stocking stuffers. Plus, the festive prints are super cute. Also, their Fits Everybody cheeky briefs are so comfy, you guys. It's the perfect gift for a friend, sister, fellow mama, or even yourself. No joke, I'll be buying most of my mama friends' Skims for Christmas because if you know, you know. The comfort is unmatched. Shop Skims Holiday Shop at skims.com. Available in styles for women, men, kids, and even pets. If you haven't yet, be sure to let them know I sent you. After you place your order, select podcast in the survey and select couple things in the drop-down menu that follows.
There's like a joke I've heard a couple times where someone's like, yeah, I've been married to 3 different women.
Yeah.
You know, and it's
Yeah.
Shawn before, before kids, Shawn after kids, and then Shawn today or whatever.
Yeah.
You know, it's like that. It's really being married to one person who's changed drastically several times. So I think one way to think about this is like, actually the myth is more true than the reality statement here, which I think marriage does change your spouse, but I don't think you should go into marriage with the expectation that they will change in a certain way. You know what I'm saying? Like, don't have this savior complex that like, oh,
yes,
they'll change or they'll grow out of this. I think like you need to marry the person that's there and have discussions around what their future aiming point is, like what trajectory or path that they want to walk down. Not expecting that will be really what happens, but like at least you know what they're shooting for. And then what's crazy is it's a really, really profound responsibility to be the person that in a lot of ways is the biggest agent for change of your spouse. You know what I'm saying? It's like the habits that for instance, your tidiness or your health habits with eating and working out have positively changed me. Your ambition has positively changed me. I was thinking, I've made the joke before, like we did this bachelor party trip. It was a week-long river float down this whitewater rafting experience. And I was like, I really think that I would be doing this full time, if I didn't marry Shawn, but you have turned me into this version of myself. And anyway, thinking about the responsibility of like, what am I helping my spouse change into and morph into? I think this is where faith plays a part, where it's like having kind of like a standard to gauge against in terms of your definition of love and joy and peace and the good life, if you will. And then also like, I know I'm rambling, but like the feedback and constructive criticism you're giving needs to be used wisely. That's all I got.
I loved everything you just said.
And it really, Mark Ballas said this to us. He said, whenever my wife gives me feedback, I need to consider that as being true, right? Like you need to take that at face value, because if this person that you spend more time with than anybody else is saying that you are acting a certain way, they're they might be right. Like maybe they're dramatic in certain areas, but it's worth assuming that they're right rather than assuming that they're not right. So anyway, like those are precious, really fragile conversations, but I think marriage does change you. You shouldn't expect it to change the person exactly how you want it to, though. Any other thoughts?
No, I think you said it beautifully.
Shawn, when I was little, I remember looking at paper maps and having an interest in where every country was located. I want this same curiosity for our kids because it genuinely made me want to learn more about geography.
I agree. I love fueling our kids' curiosity with toys that actually stimulate their brain, which is why we love Kiwico.
Listen, Kiwico recently launched Kiwico Clubs to engage kids on a journey of seriously fun learning, and our kids have been having a blast with this.
With Kiwico Clubs, kids learn the fundamentals through hands-on projects and also build new skills. It's amazing. Our kids were engineering their own robots the other day, and it literally blew me away.
Drew recently did the science club and made her own bow and arrow through their archery lesson. Honestly, it was really well thought out and simple enough for her to understand. She's wanting to do the art club next.
I don't blame her. As a parent, it can be hard to find creative ways to keep your kids engaged off screens, but Kiwico does the legwork for you so you can spend quality time tackling projects as a family.
Tinker, create, and innovate with Kiwico. Get up to 50% off your first crate at kiwico.com, promo code COUPLE. That's 50% off your first crate at kiwico.com, promo code COUPLE.
Let's get back to it.
Next one. Myth. Once you're married, you'll live happily ever after.
This is so hard because this is like what you are taught from such a young age. Like, think of Cinderella. Like, you meet your Prince Charming and you just run off to the sunset, you know?
Mm.
And I do think it says the reality here, marriage requires continuous effort, communication, and compromise from both sides. I think you can live happily ever after under the realistic expectation that you have to work for that every single day of your life. And I don't mean that in like a bad way, but marriage is work. When you start dating someone, you actively pursue them every single day. You're trying to impress them, woo them, figure out how to like compromise in certain ways. And then all of a sudden you decide, I want to spend the rest of my life with them. And you get married. That's not like a finish line. You literally are starting your life together.
Mm.
So you can't just stop doing everything you did in dating as far as like wooing, trying to impress, trying to communicate. You actually have to do it more. Otherwise, you become complacent and you stop thinking about each other and you stop working for each other, and then your relationship looks so much different than what you loved so much in the dating process.
Not to get too semantic about it, I don't think you having to do those things is really helpful. I think when you get to a point, which maybe this year was the year for us that we reached this point, where you want to impress the person that you're now married to, and like you don't really need to, that's a really beautiful spot to be. I also think your definition of happy changes. I was reading about all this AI technology and how like there's these bots that people are like starting to build relationships with because they're so convincing.
Yeah,
but there's no pushback or like challenge, you know. And marriage has plenty of challenges in that sense, for what we just said previously about like you've turned me into a certain person. That's a refining, uncomfortable process for me that like takes a long time. But like there's not that aspect of challenging or changing. I think it's almost changing my definition of, oh, happy means that we're going to be giggly and holding hands, to, no, this is meaningful. That's one thing that's happened to me. So I agree that you will live happily ever after, but what that means to you changes. And then, so the myth previously was like dating is the rocky, turbulent time, and then you get married and then life is bliss. I almost think dating is just like this light filter to get you to the point where you reach like an agreement with someone that you can do the rest of life with, and then it unlocks the ability to be really turbulent, you know, where it's like, all right, shoot, we're gonna have to work through some stuff. That's not easy. I
think that's a misconception, though, that not everybody, a lot of people have, which is this idea that if we can get through the turbulence of dating, marriage is easy. Whereas I agree with what you said. If you can get through the turbulence of dating and agree to say, I do, you are making a vow that says, no matter how turbulent it gets, I will stay here and we will be here together.
Right.
Because marriage is way more turbulent than dating. You're going through life together.
Parenting, dude.
And
it's turbulent.
You have to think, like, in dating, I don't know how to say this other than you're trying to put your best foot forward at all times. In marriage, you don't have that amount of energy. Like, you're in the rocky ups and downs. So if you can get through the turbulence of dating, you've got a chance to make it through marriage.
Yeah. Yeah, that's good. I
hope we're being optimistic here.
I think we're not like, oh, marriage is so fun all the time. But I think if that's what your expectations are, you will be disappointed. It's like, I don't know. Again, this is a meathead analogy, but it's like the gym.
Yeah.
Or like,
if you want to live 300 pounds, you got to work every day.
Is not really fun.
I know.
If you realize the why behind it of like, oh man, I'll actually be healthier for a longer time and increase my quality of life, or like that gives it a purpose.
Yeah. It just gets me on a tangent of being so frustrated with a lot of people, because the amount of people who are like, oh, like this lady in New York City who's like, oh, that's so rare. It doesn't have to be rare to be madly in love with your husband 12 years into knowing each other.
But also mad with your husband concurrently. You know what I'm saying? You can be madly in love and mad.
I'm not mad.
No, I know, not right now. You're
madly
not,
in love, okay? But that shouldn't be like a, wow, that's so rare thing. Because when people are like, oh, I just want to find someone like you guys have found. Like, oh, I just want to find a wife like that. Or, oh, I just want to find a husband like that. You can. You just have to work for it.
Yeah, like
I don't think you guys realize how hard we work on our marriage.
We just did like 6 months of marriage counseling.
Intensive marriage counseling.
It was a lot. Oh man, I'm so glad we did though.
I am.
And I'm honestly, this podcast for us. Hopefully, y'all listen to this, maybe with your partner, and we'll like digest this together. Because for us, walking through some of these things has been really helpful, because now like my understanding of Shawn's perspective and her understanding of mine, and then just the depth of knowledge of each other has been really good. But
I think it's a great representation of communication though. Like there are a lot of things we probably wouldn't have talked about if it weren't for the podcast.
I don't know. I'm honestly so thankful that we get to do this.
Me too.
Anyway, but yeah, the turbulence aspect, when you start thinking about the structure of marriage, with the contract, with the physical aspect, with the spiritual aspect, like there's really so many things that go into making this a big deal. And honestly, in some ways difficult, like way more difficult to get out of than other relationships. And like that can be a pain in the neck, if you're in a really bad spot. But I think it being designed that way forces you to say, okay, we're in a turbulent spot. Instead of trying to pull the parachute, let's look to each other and try to make it through together. Next one. You got it.
2 of 30.
We might need to do 2 parts because we have a lot.
Some of these will go quicker. The myth says the feeling of love is enough for a strong marriage. Reality, successful marriages also require trust, respect, shared values, effective communication, and mutual support.
What is the feeling of love?
I mean, I think the feeling of love evolves throughout a marriage. Because, like, I feel like the love you and I felt in the dating process and even on our wedding day was a very different love than we feel now.
Mm-hmm.
The love I felt on our wedding day and dating was like an infatuation. Like, I loved you. But it's not even nearly as deep as I love you now. But there's no way to know that without having gone through 12 years together.
Yeah.
So, is the feeling of love enough? No. No, because we've even had conversations about friends who were in 7-year-long relationships where they were in love with each other, but at the end of the day, they had to break up because they didn't have the same religious values and couldn't see past it. And like, there are other things that you have to think about.
They talk about acting like you're in love will create feelings of love. Doing the acts of love will then spark the feeling of love. Sometimes the feeling sparks the action, but I think in marriage, it's this really cool thing where it's like setting yourself and your pride aside, maybe sacrificing in some ways, and doing the act of love, borrowing from the future feeling, if you will, or the past feeling for that matter. So yeah, I don't agree that the feeling of love is enough for a strong marriage. Also, like, feelings are so fleeting and so ambiguous and intangible. It's like, if you didn't eat lunch that day, you might not feel like you're in love, but that's not love's fault.
Are you talking about me?
If you didn't eat lunch that day, no, I'm not.
I get hangry. We know this.
So it's like, no, that's not what the relationships are for.
No.
Anyway,
Next up.
let's do this. Let's do 3 more
What?
or 4 more, and then we'll do a part 2.
You think?
Yeah, I think so.
How long are we in?
Well, I just feel like we're having a good conversation. Man, maybe 5 more.
I would say maybe 10 more. I think there's like 20.
Yeah. Your myth is your partner is your one and only best friend. The reality is they can be, but it's healthy to have other close friends and relationships. Relying only on your partner for all your emotional needs can be unrealistic.
This has been a very big conversation Andrew and I have talked about a lot lately, which is this idea of community and how important it is. We've even had authors here talking about books they've read of how to make friends as adults and the importance of it. And I think you don't realize how important it is to have friends and community until you don't have it and you start to feel lonely and you start to put all of your needed attention in your spouse, and that doesn't end well. Like, you need to have a personal life and you need to have friends and you need to have other people as an outlet for, I don't know, your well-being.
Yeah.
How do I say that?
I feel like one benefit of having close friends is
Accountability. Is a good thing.
But when you go to your women's group and you say, "Oh, I can't believe Andrew did this," and everyone says, "Oh, well, my husband does that too,"
Yeah.
it takes the edge off for you. You know what I'm saying? As far as like you feeling isolated and it feeling like such a huge deal. Now it's like, oh, well, I guess this is normal and this is part of it. I also think there's a potential for like me to show up and say, "I can't believe Shawn did this," and my friends say, "Wait, you were way out of line there." You know what I'm saying? So it balances perspectives a little bit. I think it's really encouraging. I also think like you're not my bro. You know, like there are parts of me that are super loud and obnoxious that you don't really always appreciate. Sometimes you do, not always. So like if I'm gonna lift and hoot and holler with the boys or compete in something, I want to compete with someone who's more welcoming of that. And
well, I think that goes back to dating. People tend to fall in love with differences of themselves. Like, there are things about you that like I love about you, but it's hard for me to ever become a part of that hobby. Like you said, lifting really heavy weights or whatever. But that's something that I love seeing you enjoy. And if we as spouses expect each other to fill every hobby and every interest of each other's lives, it would also leave nothing to talk about.
yeah. So I think about like sending our kids to school is super. Like when you make the choice to not be with that person you love, it's hard, but to see them go and learn or to go and thrive in different ways, go make friends, that's kind of the same experience of like, man, I really do love spending all my time with you.
Yeah.
And I've heard it said, well, Shawn's marriage is only one aspect of her, so she has other things that she needs to explore, which is like kind of true. But I also just think there are, I don't know if I fully, we do a great job at seeing all sides of each other, I think, but realizing I can only be your partner in this sense. You know what I'm saying? Like my tech fascination, you don't really deal with, but we'll have conversations up to a certain point and then
you got to go find your tech friend.
Yeah. Anyway.
This show is sponsored by BetterHelp.
This month we're focusing on gratitude, and I just want to say, Shawn, thank you for simply being you and being the incredible wife and mom you are. It's been an amazing year, and I feel like we've grown so much.
That's really sweet, babe. Thank you. I think you also need to remember to thank yourself, too, because you do so much for our family and business that many people don't realize.
Wow. I appreciate that, babe. It's sometimes hard to remind ourselves that we are all out here just trying our best. So consider this your reminder to send some thanks to the people in your life, including yourself. Another thing I'm thankful for, frankly, is therapy that we've done this year. Shawn and I are open about our journey with marriage counseling, and we would recommend it to anybody.
BetterHelp is a great option if you're looking to give therapy a try. You just fill out a brief survey to get matched with a licensed therapist and can switch anytime if it's not a good fit for you for no extra charge. And it's all online, which is really helpful for us when we have a lot of travel on the calendar.
Let the gratitude flow with BetterHelp. Visit betterhelp.com/EastFam today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/EastFam.
Next one. Sex is always great.
Reality. Intimacy can go in waves and requires communication and effort. Yeah.
Yeah. Try going through 3 pregnancies.
Yeah. Yeah, I think we've done a better job at like communicating through that stuff too.
Yeah. I think it's just like your relationship. Intimacy is probably not going to be great if you're in a hard phase of your marriage. And it's probably going to be better when you feel more connected and you feel more in tune with your spouse.
Yeah. We did a whole episode on intimacy. Go check that out if you're interested. But I don't think sex with you is always great.
Oh, okay.
I do think that. Next,
Same,
myth.
baby. Conflict is bad and a good marriage doesn't have conflict.
Reality is conflict is a natural part of any relationship. How couples handle conflict determines the health of the marriage. Yeah, I feel like this is a lot of what our counseling is putting conflict in the right perspective, not seeing it as like the end of the world when Shawn disagrees with me, which then I think allows me to navigate that conflict differently and still maintain like this element of peace through the conflict. So this was actually the biggest, I was brought to tears when we were working through this with the counselor where he was like, I think you like hang on every one of Shawn's words is what he said. You let her define your identity a little bit. And I was like, yeah, I thought that was a whole freaking part of marriage. I thought that was a whole thing where it's like, you are my reflection. You know what I'm saying? But ultimately, like what I've grown to realize and what I'm growing to realize is that's not true. I think this is where like the relationship with God comes really important, where it's like I let him define my identity, right? And then you help mold that. And sometimes I need to do it your way. Sometimes I don't need to, right? And it's not like this hands-off apathy towards your perspective, but it's more of a balanced like slightly removed healthy detachment, I think is how he phrased it, which I thought was good. You know, what are your thoughts on that?
I'm still digesting. Having heard this for the first time, it made me sad.
Yeah, I'm sorry. It made you sad?
I don't like the idea of you being brought to tears by, yeah.
Well, no, it was like a reframing of what marriage is, you know?
Well, and yeah. So I just still don't like the idea of you being brought to tears.
Oh, it's good. What do you mean? I was brought to tears multiple times and like happy tears. Like, wow, this is so beautiful. The marriage is like this. And thank goodness we have all these tools at our disposal.
Yeah.
You know? Anyway.
I think conflict is good. You have 2 completely different human beings from 2 completely different families being raised completely different. No matter how similar they are, you are different. And you're going to naturally have conflict. So I think the key is just learning how to coexist with your spouse in a way where you can deal with conflict in a healthy manner.
Yeah. Nobody wants no conflict. You ever met somebody who'd never had anybody say no to them?
Yeah.
They're all like weirdos, you know?
Andrew.
Those people turn out weird. You need to be, that's how you form like good friendships is when people say, hey, let's redirect you here. You know, I know that stinks for you, but we should redirect you. And this is how we can continue to be really good friends.
Let me also just say too, within a marriage, don't shy away from conflict. I do know people who within a marriage, they're like, I don't want any conflict. So it's really not that big of a deal. I'll just,
Bury it.
Compartmentalize. Just keep pushing. Nothing good happens when you do that. People, when they hear about Andrew and I and how we deal with conflict and communicate and how we like bring up everything, it's so we don't have that. We don't want to dig down deep and find these storage bins of just all this stuff pent up from the past 12 years that all of a sudden explodes someday. I think it's really good to just deal with it as it comes.
Kind of. That's not really our style. First of all, this is our style. It's not the right style. It's just Shawn and I's style.
We don't like bigger about every tiny little thing, but we allow like our monthly checkups.
Yes.
To have a time and place to be like, give it to me.
Yeah.
What has bothered you? We don't want either of us to just start storing things or saying it's not worthy of our time.
So Shawn and I's touch points zoomed out and like just from a black and white quantitative it's like we have daily debriefs at the end of the day, weekly date nights, monthly checkups when we're at our best. And those are all opportunities to like give balanced feedback, I would say. And so I think our style is, because I do have friends that bring up every small gripe with each other and their spouse.
I don't agree with that.
And I think that's not fair, because then you're just at the mercy of your feelings.
You're at the mercy of emotion.
And it's like, again,
or anger.
Maybe I'm just irritable and it's not you. So I think we kind of, if you can visualize like a threshold where, hey, maybe you did something to irritate me, whatever. It's not a problem until that becomes a pattern, right? Yeah. And you do it like kind of multiple times. And then maybe that's on my radar to bring up, maybe have some conflict over.
Agreed.
In one of these preset touch base daily debriefs, weekly date nights, or monthly checkups. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
So that's kind of how we navigate that.
You gonna do one more?
Let's do one more, and then we'll do a part 2.
I know you're gonna love this one.
Oh, we're going out with a bang?
This is gonna be your favorite.
Am I about to go on a tangent?
Yes.
Okay. Myth is marriage means less freedom. Reality is healthy marriages support individual growth and independence. To be fully known and fully loved is to be free. Wow. How about that? I don't even write that, and I've been saying that.
I know.
What's your take on marriage means less freedom?
If you want to get into the nitty gritty, sure. You have less freedom to... There are boundaries with marriage, right? But bear with me. You'll probably say this in a better way. I don't know how to like articulate it well. When you are given... Our world is so wide open. There are so many opportunities to do a million bajillion things on any given day. When you put boundaries in place, it almost makes it feel easier and more free to operate. I feel like you can so easily get lost and you can feel aimless and purposeless. I think the rules and restrictions that apply to marriage actually allow you to become a more purposeful human being.
Well said. That was really beautiful. Yeah, it's really great. You want me to pop off?
I want you to pop off. Pop off,
I'm
babe.
not about to pop off. Here are my thoughts. So to expand on what you're saying, because I fully agree with your thoughts there. Freedom, what does that mean? Like you get to do whatever you want? Like you could just do whatever you want whenever you want to do it? That's just not reality, and that's destructive. That's anarchy, and you will be a lonely, lost person that doesn't contribute anything to society if that's what your definition of freedom is. So like let's just whittle down.
Pop off, babe.
So because there is as Americans, there's a definition of freedom, but even still that has asterisks and rules and restrictions.
We have
right?
rules and restrictions that apply.
Right. It means freedom means you're going to pay taxes as you're requested to. It means that you're going to follow the laws. It means that like, you know, you're going to tap into these different government resources, and there are expectations that are asked of you in return, that maybe you vote, that maybe you show up to the city council meeting, that maybe whatever, you contribute in different ways. And so every like the freedom, I don't even know what that freaking means, but like there's a goal. Like if you're here doing something, I think then there's like an endpoint goal, right? And so again, from a country standpoint, it's so that we can contribute to the thriving and flourishing of the most citizens of our country, right? Most people of the world. I think as a married couple, it's like so that we can contribute to the flourishing of my spouse and our marriage and our family, right? That's the goal. For a football team, it's like so we can win the game and win as many times as possible. For like a dog, it's for a house dog, it's like, hey, let's have a really fun, friendly, maybe there's safety aspects of like protection aspects, but you want them to listen and sit when you sit, or tell them to sit and whatever. So, but the freedom is defining what that endpoint is and then letting that thing run. You know what I'm saying? Like let the dog do its thing and let the citizens do their thing and contribute to the flourishing and let the marriage. And that, I think there is a finite goal. And as humans, like we are programmed, I believe, in a certain way that our preset end goal is defined. That's how we're programmed. And so there are, as a result of that consequence, restrictions that are applied. So with football, you can't go party and stay up late. You have to show up and lift weights. You have to show up to practice. You have to listen and do film. I'm still going. I'm popping. I'm just saying freedom does not just mean you're fluctuating.
Yeah.
It doesn't just mean you're just sitting there. It means that you get to rev at the highest RPM towards the thing you're going to.
Yeah.
I know I'm using a lot of analogies here that are getting jumbled up, but like it just means you're running full speed at the thing that you want to.
Mm-hmm.
So that's my thought.
Can I give an analogy?
Sure.
Because you were talking about a dog. If you choose marriage, I feel like talking about a dog, you want a dog. If you choose to get a dog and you're like, oh, I'm going to take away some of his freedoms, whatever. Try getting a dog and maintaining all of their freedoms. They're going to disappear. No fence. He can have food whenever he wants. Like that dog is gone.
Yeah.
He's not staying around. If you choose marriage, obviously you're giving up some freedoms, however you want to define them. But you chose to get married. That's like, it comes with the territory. But I still think
so why would you choose to be married though? Because it's freaking beautiful and like part of us.
Why
as
would you
humans
choose to get a dog?
No,
exactly.
I'm saying like it is a compelling thing. Marriage is not just, oh, you chose it. So it's like, no, it's actually a really beautiful aspect to being human that we desire.
I agree.
That thing.
I agree.
So I don't know. Think about it. It's like, yeah, maybe that's good that you have boundaries. Free range chickens got boundaries. They're still put in the fence. And you know why? Because they're there to lay eggs and you can feed them grass or whatever. But like, I riffed off through so many analogies there, but that's how I feel.
At the end of the day, I just feel like if you want to run around our world with every freedom possible, you will be completely aimless.
If you're looking to arm your immune system this holiday season, you need to make sure you're getting all your daily vitamins. But good news, right now, AG1 is running a special Black Friday offer for all of November.
AG1 is a daily health drink packed with nutrients to help alleviate bloating, support sustained energy, and whole body health.
AG1 can help combat the stress of holiday schedules while helping your digestion and supporting your energy. We like to drink our AG1 before we even drink our coffee in the morning to make sure we're set for the day.
This holiday season, try AG1 for yourself or even gift it to someone special. It's the perfect time to focus on supporting your body with an easy and surprisingly delicious daily health drink.
And that's why we've been partnering with AG1 for so long. Every week of November, AG1 will be running a special Black Friday offer for a free gift with your first subscription, in addition to the welcome kit with vitamin D3 plus K2.
So make sure to check out drinkag1.com/couple things to see what gift you can get this week. That's drinkag1.com/couple things to start your holiday season on a healthier note while supplies last.
And it's not health has restrictions. You know what I'm saying? Like that's just the way it is.
Yeah, I agree. You and I agree on this.
And there's, I think it's from the War of Art, not the Art of War. It's called the War of Art. Quote me on this, but he has this concept of like, we actually don't know what to do when we have freedom. What do you do when you have free time right now? Probably, if you're the average American, you scroll through Instagram mindlessly. You're not like pursuing your passions, maybe, you know what I'm saying, all the time. It's like, you look at the screen time statistics, people don't know what to do with freedom. So routine is good. Routine contributes to your health as a human, and routine inherently has restrictions a part of it. Does that make sense?
It does to me.
I don't freaking trust myself to have freedom. So thank you. Thank you for...
Neither do I.
I don't know if that's... I haven't really...
What was that?
I appreciated that.
You haven't thought through that statement you just made.
Yeah. Kind of don't. You know, we get asked, are you hesitant that you'll lose spontaneity when you're so rigid with your schedule and how you plan things out, and you do date nights every Thursday and you do goals every whatever? It's like, no, I'm not worried about sacrificing my spontaneity for meaning. I'm not worried about that, because I think my default mode is not to be spontaneous and go on some wild life adventure when we have free time. It's to be irresponsible. That's my default. So maybe you're like me, maybe you're not. But
I love you.
There you go.
All right. We'll have to come back for round 2.
Yeah. And speaking of dogs, Shawn is really pressing hard to get another dog, which we'll see. I'm not super posed, but I'm really partial to golden retrievers. So as long as we could find
a rescue golden retriever,
that'd be great. Anyway, stay tuned for part 2. We have a lot of more myths to go through. And if you like these rants and maybe you agree with them, subscribe.
Yeah.
Give the show a rating.
Leave a comment. Let us know how off base we are.
Yeah. We're not saying we're right. We're just saying this is our style. This is how we've navigated through this. And we're just out here we're 8 years into marriage. We're 33 years old. Tell us some wisdom. Deep. Yeah. But what a thing it is.
Do you believe we've been together 12 years?
That's cool. We're getting old. We're doing it.
12. That's a long time.
Think about how weird it'll be when we're together for more of our life than we weren't together. We're not there yet.
Okay. Yeah. How many more years still are there?
10? Yeah, I think that's right. Anyway, that's all we got. I'm Andrew.
I'm Shawn.
We'll see you next time on Couple Things.